Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another exciting episode of PCME. I'm your host Umar Mubashir, and in today's video I will be talking about the physical quantities. So let's get started. In our daily life, we deal with various kind of physical quantities. For example, when we go to the market to buy groceries, we purchase goods in different quantities. For example, kilograms, grams, liters, etc. Similarly, when we have to travel to some places, we usually plan that how long it will take for us to reach our destination, or how much distance we have to travel. What will be the weather like? Is it going to be too hot or too cold? Now, all these examples involve some kind of physical quantities and its units. In today's video, I will be discussing about the SI system, the three basic physical fundamental quantities and their units. I will also discuss about the instruments which can be used to measure those physical quantities. Also, finally, I will be discussing about the prefixes of the SI units. So let's start with a brief history of the SI units. The original motivation for the development of the SI system was the diversity of units that was used across the globe to do the business, and the lack of coordination between various disciplines that use them. The General Conference on Weights and Measures, which was established by the Meter Convention of 1875, brought together many international organizations to establish the definition and standard of a new system, and to standardize the rules for writing and presenting measurements. The system was published in 1960 as a result of an initiative that began in 1948. It is based on the meter kilogram system, also known as the MKS, rather than any variant of the CGS, which was back in the day known as the centimeter gram second system. The aim of the SI unit system was to establish standard for measuring different physical quantities and implement them across the globe. To put it simple, 1 kilogram of sugar in Asia will be the same amount as 1 kilogram of sugar in Antarctica. Now let's move to our first physical quantity, that is mass. Mass is defined as the amount of matter contained in the body. The SI unit is kilogram. There are larger and smaller units for measuring mass as well. For example, quintal, grams, milligrams, micrograms, etc. There are various kinds of devices which can be used to measure the mass. For example, physical balance, top end balance, mechanical balance, and spring balance. Next physical quantity is length. Length is a measure of distance. Length is commonly understood as most extended dimension of an object. The SI unit of length is meter, although there are also bigger and smaller prefixes for measuring length. For example, centimeters, decimeters, millimeters, micrometers, nanometers, etc. There are various types of tools that can be used to measure length. For example, meter rule, measuring tape, vernier caliper, and micrometer screw gauge. It's very important that one should choose an appropriate tool to measure the distance. For example, if you have to measure the dimensions of your textbook, you should use centimeter ruler. While for measuring the dimensions of a room, one should use the measuring tape. Similarly, if one have to measure the thickness of a wire, the micrometer screw gauge will be an ideal tool. And now, last but not least, is time. Time is defined as the measure or measurable period during which an action, process, or condition exists or continues. The SI unit of time is second. There are bigger and smaller prefixes for measuring time as well. For example, hours, days, years, months, and then we have minutes, milliseconds, microseconds, nanoseconds, and so on. We can use mechanical or digital stopwatches to measure the time interval. And now let's move to our last topic, that is the unit conversion. It's fundamental for you guys to know how to convert large prefixes to small prefixes and vice versa. So let's get started. Alright guys, so now I will start with the prefixes conversion for mass, first of all. Now we know that the SI unit for mass is kilogram. In 1 kilogram, we have 1,000 grams. So basically what it means is that every time when you have to convert any unit from kilogram to gram, you will multiply that physical quantity by 1,000. For example, let's just say if I have 2.5 kilogram and I need to convert that 2.5 kilogram to grams. So what I'm going to do is that I will multiply 2.5 by 1,000, and that will be equal to 2,500. Now keep this in mind guys, that every time when you have to convert, the rule is that when you convert from a bigger unit to smaller unit, you will always multiply. Now let's take a look at another example. If you have to convert a gram to a milligram, what will you do? Keep this in mind that 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. So let's just say for example, if I want to convert 50 grams to milligrams, so what I will do, again, the rule for converting a bigger unit to a smaller unit, I will multiply by 1,000. So 50 times 1,000, and that will be equal to 50,000 milligrams. There you go. Now, what if you have to convert from a smaller unit to a bigger unit? Then what kind of conversions you have to do? Let's take a look at it. Let me erase the sheet now. Now, let's just say we have an example in which we want to convert grams to kilogram. So, how many grams is equal to 1 kilogram? Or let's just say if 1 gram is equal to how many kilograms? That will be 1 over 1,000. So what it means, every time when you have to convert gram to kilograms, you will divide that value by 1,000. For example, let's just say I have 750 grams, for instance, and I want to convert them to kilograms. So 750 grams divided by 1,000, that's 1 by the way, and that will be equal to 0.75, and that will be 0.75 kilogram. Now, what if you have to convert milligrams to gram? So let's just say 1 milligram is equal to 1 over 1,000. Excuse me. One milligram is equal to 1 over 1,000 of a gram. So for example, let's just say you have 40 milligrams and you want to convert them to grams, then it will be 40 divided by 1,000, and that will be equal to 0.04 grams. So the second rule is, whenever you have to convert a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you will always divide. So if you remember this rule, then it will be easy for you to convert the prefixes. Now let's move to length. So in length, as we know that the SI unit is meter, but there are other units also like millimeters, centimeters, decimeters, micrometers. So first of all, we will understand that what are the standard prefixes, and then we will discuss about how to convert from bigger unit to smaller units, and then from smaller units to bigger units, or from bigger prefixes to smaller prefixes, and vice versa. Now, in 1 meter, we have 100 centimeters. In 1 centimeter, there are 10 millimeters. So by this relation, how many millimeters will be there in 1 meter? Well, that will be 1000 millimeters, because in 1 meter you have 100 centimeters, and then in 1 centimeter you have 10 meters. So that's 100 times 10, which is equal to 1000 millimeters. Now for bigger prefixes, 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meters. And in 1 meter, there are 10 decimeters. Also, in 1 meter, there are 1 million micrometers. Now, let's talk about how to do the conversions from bigger unit to smaller unit. Again, as I told you before, when I was talking about the mass prefixes conversion, that the rule is from bigger unit to smaller unit. When you have to do the conversion, you will multiply, and for converting from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you will divide. So, for example, let's just say I have 7 meters and I want to convert them to centimeter. So what I will do, 7 multiplied by 100, and that will be equal to 700 centimeters. Let's take another example. I want to convert 10 meters to millimeters. Now, as you can see here, 1 meter is equal to 1000 millimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply 10 by 1000. That's right. So that will be equal to 10,000 millimeters. There you go. Now let's just say I have 0.5 kilometers and I want to convert it to meters. Now in all these 3 examples, I'm converting from a bigger prefix to a smaller prefix. So again, we look at the scale here, where 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meters. So I'm going to multiply 0.5 kilometers by 1000. And that will be equal to 500 meters. Now, let's look at the examples in which we will be converting from smaller prefixes to bigger prefixes. So I have, let's just say, 4 millimeters, and I want to convert them to centimeters. Now, according to the scale that I have just written, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter. So what I'm going to do when I will convert from millimeter to centimeter, that's right, I'm going to divide 4 by 10. And that will be equal to 0.4 centimeter. Remember the rule, from smaller to bigger prefix, you will divide. Next up, let's take another example. Let's just say I want to convert 500 centimeters to meter. 500 centimeter to meter. So 500 divided by 100. Why 100? Because I know that in 1 meter there are 100 centimeters, and that will be equal to 5 meters. Let's just say another example. I have 45 meters and I want to convert them to kilometers. So 45 will be divided by 1000, and that will be equal to 0.045 kilometers. I hope you understand. Let's move to the last, the time prefixes. Now in time, we will also talk about how to convert the units. But first of all, let's just make a table of how much, which unit is equal to how many prefixes. For instance, in 1 hour, how many minutes? There are 60 minutes. And we also know that in 1 minute, how many seconds are there? That's right, 60 seconds. So in 1 hour, then how many seconds will be there? Well, you will multiply 60 by 60, and that will be equal to 3600 seconds or 3600 seconds. Now let's see how to convert from bigger unit to smaller units and from smaller units to bigger units. Let's just say you want to convert, for example, 2 hours to minutes. That will be equal to 2. You will multiply it by 60, and it will be equal to 120 minutes. Remember the rule that I told you before? We are converting hours, which is a bigger prefix, to a smaller prefix, which is minutes. So that's why I'm multiplying it by 60. Let's take another look at another example. Let's just say you want to convert 5 minutes to seconds. So that will be 5 multiplied by 60, which will be equal to 300 seconds. Let's take a look at another example. You want to convert 0.5 hours to seconds. That will be 0.5 multiplied by 3600, and that will be equal to 1800 seconds. Now let's take a look at some examples in which we will be converting from smaller units to bigger units. So we know that in 1 second is equal to 1000 milliseconds. All right. So let's just say if you have to convert from 500 milliseconds to seconds, what you are going to do, you will divide 500 by 1000. Because according to the rule, you are converting a smaller prefix to a bigger prefix, and that will be equal to 0.5 seconds. Let's take a look at another example in which you have to convert 260 seconds to minutes. So what you're going to do, you will divide 260 by 60, which will be equal to 4.33 minutes. Now, one more example. Let's just say you want to convert 45 minutes to hours. So what you're going to do, that will be 45 divided by 60, and which will be equal to 0.75 hours. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed and liked the video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.